welcome to the February 16th, 2021 meeting of the Bryan Board of Public Affairs. First item on the agenda will be to approve the minutes of the February 2nd, 2021 regular meeting. We've all been presented with the minutes, had a chance to read them. Anyone sees any additions or corrections, please let us know.
I see none, Tom. This is Dick. I'd like to make a motion we approve the minutes for February 2nd board meeting.
This is Karen. I'll second.
Dick,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Annette.
Yes.
Next item is a hearing of public concerns. There's a phone number listed. If anyone would like to call in, now would be the time. We'll pause for a few seconds and see if we get any calls. Next item would be to approve the treasurer's report. Lori?
The board has been presented with the clerk treasurer's report for the month ending January 31st, 2021.
This is Karen. I will make a motion. We accept the clerk treasurer's report.
I'll second. This is Jim.
Karen,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Dick.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution. Lori, would you number and read, please?
Resolution number 8, 2021, authorizing the Director of Utilities to solicit proposals and enter into an agreement for lease of the City of Bryan's North Industrial Park for agricultural purposes.
Eric, you want to fill us in on this?
Yeah, purchase of this property, it's been farmed for alfalfa by S&W Mills. Late in 2020, they notified BMU that the alfalfa was no longer producing a beneficial harvest and that we should look at put it into a crop rotation. After discussion with the team, we looked at our options and decided a 3-year lease for agricultural purposes was the best way to go. There's approximately 75 tillable acres. After the 3-year crop rotation, it could be returned to alfalfa if we chose to. And the agreement does have a contingency included in there for if or when the property is sold. If you have any questions, we could answer those. If not, I would respectfully request that the Director of Public Utilities be authorized to solicit for proposals for the city's North Industrial Park for an agricultural lease.
Does anyone have any questions or make any comments?
Derek, I have a question because I have a couple of farmers that are interested in that. How do they advertise for that? Just in the paper?
Yeah, I think it'll be in the legal ads for 2 consecutive weeks. We have those dates determined, but off the top of my head, I can't tell you what they are, but it's coming up relatively soon.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Derek.
Derek, I have a question. This is Karen. Will that include any fertilizer or pesticide applications that you know of yet?
That would be the responsibility of the farmer, but I don't know what they would do.
Okay, thank you. And I also see it's for routine crops that are grown in our area, corn and soybeans. It's common rotatable product. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
This is Dick, so moved.
This is Annette. I'll second it. Dick,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a discussion and possible resolution to authorize revisions to Bryan Communications Department services. Joe Farrell is going to head up this discussion. Joe?
Yes, as we previously discussed, and this is going on for a time, due to the 5G mandate from the government, they are changing the C-band allocation for all the satellites in space for video programming. In order to meet that demand with our digital product, and what we would have to do in the customer's home without equipment, that cost would be exorbitant and not feasible for the department. What we suggested is that we turn down that digital product and we keep our analog service. We would continue to pass through all of the free broadcast HD and other programming that we currently do that people get at no charge. And so that wouldn't go away. The only programming that would go away would be any programming that a customer has a digital set top to receive, which would include the digital basic, the HD simulcast, and the premium channels, such as HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, Stars, and those programs. We need to discontinue this service on May the 1st because of a deadline. We are backed into somewhat of a corner, and we really don't have a choice in the matter at this time. And we need to ask the board and the public's patience to pass a resolution that we can begin this process, because it will take some time.
This is something, Joe, that's been, I guess, been on the forefront for a long time. This just hasn't come up overnight. That's just a possibility might happen about the digital service. Am I right on that?
Yes, you're correct, Tom. We've known for probably 2 or 3 years. We've been faced with going to have to make a decision sooner or later. With what they've done with the satellite transmission has just forced our hand a lot sooner than we would have chosen. We would have rather put this off as long as we could, but we're in a position now that it's basically out of our hands to make that decision. I might add that when this services are removed, it will give us bandwidth to be able to increase our internet service to make especially the upload upstream service better. And we have that plan to do that this year. And it will be able to offer more packages in the near future for the internet.
Anyone else have a comment or?
Well, it seems to me, Joe, that like Tom says, this has been coming on for some time. You know, we've discussed, you know, for some time in the past, the equipment that we've had to purchase some years ago, you know, to maintain this digital product. And as the technologies improved, there became fewer and fewer of these available. So as you've explained to me, a lot of these, well, I guess all of them that we have now, we've had to buy refurbished because they don't make them anymore. And I believe if I read correctly, there's a 44% failure rate on these set-top boxes. It seems to me that because of the expense involved and with the 5G, what the technology is going to require is for the upgrades on the tower, the dishes, processors, the racks in the head end, God, a lot of stuff. And that'll just be the beginning. I think if we can, in my mind anyway, if we can continue to furnish a quality product, you know, at a fair price, because I think that's where our leg up is in with our local service and, you know, being able to pay everything on one bill. Hopefully people will see fit to at least give it a shot, see how it goes for them.
And Joe, this affects about 180 of our customers, correct?
Yes, Dick, it affects, it's 15% of our video customers is who is affected by this decision. The other 85%, this is entirely seamless for them. As I mentioned earlier, we want the public to understand that they're not going to lose their Toledo pass-through HD programming, the extra programs they get from the broadcasters that we send to them each month. They're not going to lose that. It's only the digital package. All that would be lost.
What about the internet, Joe? Does this have any effect on the internet?
Yes, Jim, as I stated earlier, this is going to enable us to put more court carriers on the system. To not get technical, but you need a certain amount of bandwidth on the system to be able to increase your internet speeds and improve the product. This will enable us to do that because it frees up the bandwidth that we need for this purpose.
And Joe, I guess I was reading along, it's going to cost us $500,000 plus if we stay in that digital. That just doesn't make good financial sense for 180 customers. I mean, I hate to do that to our customers, but that's a big investment.
Well, plus we have other equipment that I'm not sure even pertains to this, but I mean, the nodes, amplifiers, line extenders, things like that are out there that are normal maintenance and replacement on some of this equipment. Of course, we'll have to keep up with that too. So that'll add to our cost.
And I did a quick math thing, and we're looking at a 20-year payback, even if we did invest all of this $500,000 plus investment. And who knows what TV is going to be like in 20 years. Digital streaming and everything. Who knows?
Yeah, and inside of 20 years, a lot of things could change, you know, as far as having to upgrade the equipment again, you know, how many times. I don't think there's a payback. It just doesn't make good financial sense.
Your technology in this industry changes a minimum of every 10 years. When you plan for the future, you have to plan that in 10 years we're going to need to change this or some type of platform. In the last several years, as most of you notice, even at your homes, internet has exponentially exploded from what it used to be. And it's hard for operators to just keep up with the demand. So you're correct in that the payback on that service would not last the technology change that will happen. No. Yeah.
This is Karen. I don't have a question, but I've got a comment to our customers that are affected by this cost savings decision that we are soon to vote on. I hope you understand that we want to stop the rate increases that have been an annual decision that we have had, that have been forced upon us, that we have had to share with you. We've absorbed many of those rate increases or portions of them, and that has hurt our business financially in this respect. It's just time for us to see what is better for our business as we move forward. And as you're well aware, there are probably thousands of other cable businesses who have made the same decision and moved on. Very few left. I think if that's not correct, Joe, you can answer to that. But we want to give you a great channel lineup, and I believe that we have left you with a solid decision. The extended basic package and the basic packages, those are very good. And Joe's got the pass-through channels, which are free channels to you, and some of those are in HD quality as well. And I think you'll be happy with our pricing structure. While this decision hurts the 15% of you out there, this is going to be a benefit to 85% of our customer base. So I want to thank you for your support, and stay with us, and we'll still be able to support you with channel 3 and 4, supplying you with great programming, the Jubilee, the recordings of our board and school board decisions, and the city council meetings and everything else, the sports that we do. So I thank you, and I hope that you remain happy customers of ours. And I'm sorry for the decision, but it's something we must do.
I'll just add just a brief comment to what Karen mentioned. And the programming that we do have does not require set-top boxes to have the basic and extended basic. So you can have as many TVs in your house as you want. You don't have to pay for a box. You go to one of the big suppliers, and if you've got 7 TVs, you're paying for 7 boxes every month.
Mm-hmm.
That's a benefit that we have here at the City of Bryan. So just want you to think about that.
That's a good comment. There could be a cost savings to these people.
Oh, there will be. Mhm.
Any further discussion or comments, questions, one way or the other, before we move on with this?
No, I think it's inevitable, Tom. I'd like to introduce the resolution and bring it up for vote.
And I think the resolution is just to change the our price structure. It'll be the same prices for the basic and extended and all those services. It will just not make any comment or any reference to any digital service or the premium services. So we're not changing any of the rates. We're just changing the structure to eliminate the digital portion.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in that? I think I'm correct in that. So if we want to move forward, we would have Lori number and read this resolution. In agreement in that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Laura.
Resolution number 9, 2021, revising Bryan Communications Department services for Addendum Exhibit A, cable television rate schedule.
Your motion to approve.
This is Karen. I'll make a motion. We accept resolution number 9 for the cable change to the cable TV system.
This is Dick. I'll second.
Karen,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
That was not easy to do.
It was not.
Agreed.
Next item on the agenda is a request, place the Director of Utilities on regular employment status. I will leave that one on. As you know, Nate was reclassified from engineering supervisor to probationary director of utilities on August 17th, 2020. Probationary period is for 6 months, which is up today. What a coincidence. Nate took on the responsibility of director during a difficult time. COVID-19 has impacted our community and the Bryan municipal utilities in many ways and remains a changing landscape requiring all of us to adjust as best we can. Nate has guided the BMU to rise to the challenge of working with our employees and community members by adapting and creating innovations in numerous ways. While he transitioned responsibilities to director, he also worked with the new engineering supervisor to ensure he was brought up to speed with BMU processing. Nate's leadership style has assisted him in managing departments to ensure BMU's continued quality service and organizational efficiency. In accordance with BMU policy, Nate is eligible to be placed on regular employment status as Director of Utilities, effective tomorrow, February 17th, 2021. Jim and I, as members of the HR committee, recommend we place Nathan Gardner on regular employment status as Director of Utilities. Any comments?
I'd like to make a comment. This is Dick. Nate, we brought you in the ugly 2020, the bad year that we'd all like to forget. You had a lot on your plate. I know you were working with Bobby and trying to get him up to speed and trying to learn yourself. I think personally, I think you've done a fantastic job. I've watched you. You keep your composure. You're level-headed about everything. You're picking up things pretty quick. And I know for a fact you're well respected by your peers. So Dick, you're doing a fantastic job.
I agree, Dick. It's been a few years back when we were between directors and the engineering department was loaded up with work, and we suddenly became, shorthanded. And then we lost a member of the engineering department, and I was scared to death that I was filling in for the director at the time, and I was scared to death that if anything happened to Nate, what we would do, because I know he was buried. A time or two, I went in and sat and talked to him to try and make sure that everything was going well, and he never complained. He did what he had to do, and this is the way he's been as a director. It's hard to fault him. He's doing a good job.
This is Karen. You both put it very well. I have the same feelings about his abilities as you do, and he's very well respected, and he's been doing the job fantastically. And now with Dawn gone, he's continuing on, like you said, Jim, picking up and carrying on with no complaints. And it's very admirable that he is doing so well. So congratulations, Nate.
Okay,
Today is the last day of his probationary period.
I believe that's right.
We have until midnight to have our way with him. I'm just kidding. You're doing a good job, Nate. You really are.
Yeah, Nate, you realize that if we put you on regular employment status, that locks you in for 10 years, right?
Yeah, I'm enjoying this too. This is probably the last time I'll hear all these good things said about me, so I'm kind of taking.
All right. With that discussion on this, I will entertain a motion to place Nate on regular employment status.
This is Dick, so moved.
This is Annette, I'll second it.
Dick,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes. Of course.
Congratulations. Next on the agenda is a 2020 year-end review. So Nate, we're going to put you on the spot and you're going to lead this off.
All right. Well, we got a lot of things to get through here tonight, and I try to get through it as fast as possible. Some of it's kind of redundant because we did have our budget meetings and some of this stuff carries on with that. But like I said, we'll try to get through it and not keep you here all night. So I will start off and I will do the financial part of and then we'll turn it over later to each of our department heads and they can discuss their stuff. But I want to start off by saying numbers definitely tell a story. But before we get started on all those numbers and graphs and charts, I want to take a quick look back at 2020. As everybody knows, the year started off with various distractions, as far as the utility goes, that influenced us. And then to add to that, we were hit with a pandemic. There was a lot of unknowns regarding COVID. When it first came about, this one of people's greatest fears is the unknown and what it would bring. We had stay-at-home orders, from the governor. The mayor declared a declaration of emergency. Schools, local businesses shut down. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, I think we all remember too well, don't want to relive it again. But I wanted to recap a little bit about what the board was able to do during those times, because they deserve some credit too, because they made numerous decisions during this time. Just to name a few, the virtual meeting policy came into effect, and I think our first virtual meeting was, I think it was April of 2000. You guys adopted numerous COVID-19 utility policies, temporarily suspending utility disconnects for non-payments was one of them. Revisions to our utility policy allowing a 48-hour notice for disconnections, waive late fee penalties. You allowed 15-day sick leave donation during the pandemic. All great things for our employees and the community as a whole. You also did, I think you authorized the Good Neighbors Fund and changed the temporary yearly maximum to $500, increased the eligible income level to 200% of the poverty level. You added communication services to that. So that's among many other things. That's just a little of what you guys were able to accomplish this year. So I think that's worth noting. BMU also did a lot of changes, and basically we carefully watched the budget. We put a freeze on large purchases and capital projects. We enacted all the COVID governmental guidelines, along with all the department heads came up with their own, because they were all unique and individual to each other. So they all came up with their own policies above and beyond what the utility put out there. So I got to give them a lot of credit for getting through that too. So with that brief introduction, we've all done a lot of things to help the community and to help our ratepayers get through this past year, and it was a team effort. So with that, let's see if we can move to the next slide, and we'll start talking about power supply. So I believe you all recognize this pie chart. I think you've seen it many times. We discussed it in detail during our budget presentation. It reflects our power supply energy sources, and it's a good way to see our diversity of our energy and how it's laid out. Just as a reminder, in 2011, the board adopted a renewable energy power supply strategy. And the only reason I'm bringing it up, because this is 2020, and they wanted to see, by 2020 to have our energy portfolio 25% of our renewable energy sources. And we've met that goal, actually exceeded it. I think we have 28%. So I think that was a good goal, and we were able to exceed that. The next chart on your left there, the monthly energy use, I think it tells a pretty good story. This is our power supply cost. It's our single greatest expense. I mean, if people think they have high electric bills, they should see ours. Ours is pretty substantial every month. When I saw it, I was pretty surprised. So it represents about 75 to 85% of our annual operation and maintenance expenses. And you can tell by the chart, I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but you can see electric usage decline due to COVID with some businesses shutting down and limited usage. Power rates for Bryan ended the year at almost 59.68 cents per megawatt hour, which is approximately 7.1% higher than forecasted, 11.9% higher than 2019 rates. So this is a 6.8% decrease from 2019 and 7.7% below our 2020 forecast. You can also see from the chart, COVID continued to a 15% drop in the April and May loads, as you can see there. This lowered the megawatt hours to spread a fixed cost over, resulting in an increase to our annual rate of approximately $1.50 a megawatt hour. The less power we sell, the more it costs us. So in other words, and you can see the mild weather in 9 out of the 12 months resulted in Bryan loads being 5% lower than expected. This resulted in an increase of our rates by approximately $2.50 a megawatt hour. 2020 weather was highlighted by a warm winter, January, March, and November being the 10 top warmest on record, and in mild weather during months of very little air conditioning load in May, September, and October. A warmer than normal summer, June through August, did help offset the other 9 months of the lower energy usage. So it kind of gives you a good picture of what happened over the year, what our projection forecast was, what our actual was, and what 2019 was. So can we go to the next slide? This chart reflects Bryan's power supply over time from 2005 to 2020. As you can see, it has been fairly stable over the past few years, and 2021 power supply is projected to be relatively stable and typical as well. Next slide. So back one more right there. We'll get into the electric financials. Probably one of the more biggest changes, I guess. So just briefly, for people that don't know, the 515 is our electric operating fund. It's basically used for outlays such as employee salaries and payments for services. And then we have the 515, which is the capital reserve fund, which is used for major infrastructure projects such as substations and turbine upgrades and those types of things. So we'll quickly go through these numbers. The 501 started the year with 10.3 million, while the 515 was a little over 6.3 million, for a total of just over $16.6 million. Revenues were anticipated to be about 20.7 million and came in just under 18.9, a decrease of about 9% from projected. Expenses were budgeted to be 21.6 million, and with the efforts of our team, we came in at 16.8 million, a decrease of 16.3. They did a great job, cutting back. And once we found out what was happening, and it did a great job of being able to watch and make changes on the fly. The ending 501 balance was 11.5 million, and the 515 was 2.4 million for a combined total of 13.5, a decrease of almost $3 million over the year. We'll go to the next slide. So this kind of tells you out of our total cash comparison from the previous years. This confirms the last slide of the total cash over the year by month and comparing 2020 to the last 2 years. The downward trend due in part, of course, by large capital project. We cash funded the Industrial Drive substation, the GT1 and 2, yet it stabilized the last quarter of the year. With the wheels already in motion, these are something that these projects were planned prior COVID. So, we didn't know this was coming. So we were able to take it on and stabilized, and, even in the difficult times, we accomplished a lot. So can we go to the next slide? I know some of these slides seem redundant, but this is a nice slide. It shows the overall picture of the percentage of sales by rate class and kilowatt hours in dollars along the numbers of customers in each class. And it clearly shows that what I spoke of earlier, that what 55% of our sales are heavily weighted in large power. Approximately 2/3 of our sales are in the industrial and commercial classes. Next slide. This graph is just another way of looking at the last few, expands on the sales by customer class over the last 5 years, specifically the decrease in 2020 usage in commercial and industrial. So if you look at those totals over there, you can see, it decreasing, over time. And especially in 2020, you can see the difference specifically. Next slide. This graph also expands on the last one, shows the total sales in kilowatt hours over the last 5 years. You can see the percent reduction to prior years in red from the previous years, particularly 2020 usage in commercial and industrial. So in 2016 was 2% lower than 2015 and so on. So you get it. This is just another way of looking at it, but it really shows you the decline. So it's worth seeing. Next slide. And just again, another way of looking at it, especially the electric, because it was one of the hardest hits. Note the percent change in red from the commercial and industrial, down 7% and down 9.8 in industrial. The total electric sales by month from 2017 to 2020, another view of the month as it compares for a 4-year perspective. Notice March and April, it dips during the COVID in red there, and the uptick in the summer heat, and then it allowed lower following our recent trends toward the end of the year. But you can really see what COVID did to us there in March and April, how it dropped down, and as luck would have it, most people don't like the heat, but it did help us as a utility company, was able to rebound, and things could have been much worse, if we didn't have the heat that we did have in the summer. So that slide is good representation of that. Next slide. Okay. This is a comparison by class, depicts the lower usage as we spoke compared to the last few years in commercial and industrial. Shows it again. You can see the dip and the rise, just another way of seeing it. Next slide. So our financial plan. We're currently working with Sawvel Associates. We're planning out our path forward in the electric department. Our team has been working on cutting costs. Our team has been, planning out the need for capital projects for the next 5 years, working with our engineering consultant to basically value engineer the goals that we have. We still have some goals out there that we have to meet. This wheel is turning and it's hard to stop it. So we have a plan. We're going to go out 5 years and we're going to value engineer. We're going to do the best that we can to try to get these costs down and make them more affordable because they're things that we need to do. So our team's working hard at that right now, getting that information together. So we hope to have something together by the end of March or April so we can review it and see if we can get these costs down and still proceed to the 5-year plan that we want to tackle in the electric department. Another thing we've done, we started this year with issuing purchase orders quarterly. That allows us to be able to track and manage our budget throughout the year. It's a lot easier to see exactly where you're at when you have all these purchase orders just quarterly. So it gives us, it's just a tool for us to better manage and know where we're at. So we can basically watch our finances closely and adjust as necessary as we go. So next slide. Let's move into the water department. We'll go through this. The 502 is the water department's operating fund in this case, and the 525 is the capital reserve fund. If you can see, the 502 started the year with nearly 1.6 million, while the 525 was a little over 727,000 for a total of just over 2.3 million. Expenses were budgeted to be 2.35 million and came in at 1.9 million, a decrease of about 19%. The 525 was budgeted at 1.2 million and came in at $631,711, a decrease of about 47%. Some of this reflects the postponement of the AMI, which we're set to go on, and because of what happened, this didn't transpire. So that's one of the reasons for that. The ending 501 budget balance was just over $2 million, The 515 was 137,768 for a combined total of about 2.2 million, a decreased total of $92,584. Next slide. Well, this is a water total cash comparison chart. The slide reflects the total cash comparison from 2018 to 2020. The transfer of funding of the capital projects, such as the South Wind, North Industrial water projects, and then notice the recovery near the end of the year for a normal trend. Next slide. This graph shows a comparison of the water treatment plant production by month for the year 2018 through 2020. As you can see, we saw a decrease from March to April, then recovering and following past trends. So even the water department, in a sense, saw that set dip there. And, you know, the dry summer probably contributed to our rise with and people staying home. So next slide. This graph shows the comparison in gallons by class, the commercial and industrial, again, as we've been talking about through the past few years. As you can see, the water did take a dip from March to April, but the water department was not hit as hard as the electric department was. Next slide. This slide gives you additional information for 2020, the gallons used by rate class, sales by rate class, the number of customers by class. The chart shows the industrial and commercial sales at near 50% of our sales. So this gives you a lot of information on this slide. I think it's a good one. Next slide. Again, this chart shows another view of the usage by time per class. As you can see, there does seem to be a slight decreasing trend in usage. As you look through there, this is another good slide, just another way of looking at it, but separating our classes over time. And you can see that, you know, the totals are, you know, decreasing a little bit over time and trending down. But the rate so that we put in there that the board did for the 3 years did help out, you know, even though the sales were down, our rates were still, you know, capable of doing our capital projects that we want to do. So I know some of these slides may be redundant, but it's good to see this in different ways. This also shows the slight decreasing trend in usage over time. As you can see, we were down from 2015, 7.4%. And, you know, it's similar to the electric department, decrease in 2017 from 2016 of 3.8%, et cetera. So looking down through there, you can definitely shows the decrease in sales over time as far as gallons used. Next slide. Again, another way of seeing it shows an increase of 8.8% in residential, maybe due to the people being home, dry summer, compared to a decrease in commercial and industrial customers, possibly due to the COVID restrictions that were going on. So good slide to tell the story. We'll take a quick look now at the communication financial. The 509 communication fund is the communications is the operating fund, and the 535 in this case is the capital reserve fund. The 509 started the year with 2.28 million, while the 535 was a little over 80,000 for a total of just over 2.36 million. Revenues were anticipated to be 2.5 million and came in at 2.4 million, down only 3.8% from anticipated. Expenses for 509 were budgeted to be around 2.76 million and came in at about 2.3 million, a decrease of 15.6%. As you can see, the 535 came in around 41% under projected. The ending 509 balance was just over 2.3 million, and the 535 was $88,064 for a combined total of about 2.39 million, an increased total of about 25,599. Next slide. Okay. So this is a total cash comparison. this slide reflects the communication total cash comparison over the last few years, which seems to be relatively stable as you would anticipate with our customers spending more time at home in 2020. The communication department was lower, but it was following the same trend lines. You can see a little bit of a dip. Are pretty much in the middle of what we had, which is reflecting people staying home, using internet, watching TV. Still not as high as some of the years, but about where we anticipated it would be. Next slide. Again, this slide gives us a lot of information, total sales by service offered and percent of each. Cable TV reflects 58% of our sales. So this gives you the dollar amount of revenue by cable, internet, and fiber. Good overall view. This again is another good overall view. The slide again offers a closer look at the communication customers over time. Customers fluctuate, as you can see, over time. They come and go sometimes. Cable TV shows a slight decrease over time. Internet seems to remain fairly stable, and fiber remains steady and flat. Next slide. Another way of looking, comparing residential and internet and residential cable TV customers over time. Next slide. Again, this slide continues with commercial internet and commercial fiber customers over time. And this slide gives a look at total sales revenue over time. Although it looks like it's changed a lot if you look fairly flat at about 2.3 million, it's pretty close. So it's fairly stable over that time period. And finally, I want to talk about the Good Neighbors Fund again a little bit. This slide gives us a good look at the Good Neighbors Fund of donations by year since its inception, which started out in 2005. I know I said this, but it bears repeating. I want to thank all those who donated to this fund and those that participate in raising these funds. It's amazing to see how people give so much, during the hardest times. So you can see there's 2020 ended in 13,000. There's still money available for people out there that need help. Next slide. You can see that this one gives you how many people and families that we'd helped, since the beginning of 2005. And you can see, actually 2020, you would think there would have been more of a need, and there was only 50 families that were helped. So those people that do need assistance and that are hurting, Northwestern Ohio Community Action Commission, we call it NOCAC. Give them a call if you need help with paying your utility bill. This is a good place to start. So feel free to reach out to them. That's why we do what we do, and we raise the money for those people. So next slide. So I'd like to turn it over to the department heads now for their presentation. Joe, if from the communications, if you'd like to start us off. Put him to sleep.
No, I was finding my control under the presentation. Thanks, everyone. The department, even through COVID, we were able to maintain service and get some projects finished last year. We entered the year with a little over 1,200 analog customers, which is basic and expanded basic. And we had under 200 digital basic customers. And out of those, 115 of those folks had DVRs, and then another 130 had regular HD set tops. We always continue to pass through the additional HD off-air broadcast signal programming that we do not charge additional cost to our customers, but we maintain that stream and equipment. Next slide. On HFC Internet, which we place a lot of our focus, we installed more enhanced internet service that provides customers up to 30 megabits download speeds for the customers, and we continue to offer those high-speed options and 10 megabits for a lot of customers that don't need as much bandwidth as well. And we entered 2020 with almost 1,600 internet customers. We're thankful for that. Next slide. Fiber optic projects was a big portion of our year, even with the coronavirus, and all our team and the electric department worked together to build a lot of fiber last year. We continued to install fiber optics into the substations, and particularly the new industrial park substation, and all through the industrial park to interconnect it back to some others for protective relay purposes and communications. And that was the largest project we did. And we also installed an upgrade fiber route into Ohio Gas's new building on East Wilson Street, of which we're getting ready to connect that in any time. Next slide. On the network side, we had a network firewall that had been in place for many, many years. We installed an entire new firewall as depicted in the picture that Eric provided. And that protects the security for all of our internet and all of our communications for the utility and most of the city side. It's very critical. And we started the engineering and planning for an additional wireless network infrastructure. We are working on it as we speak to upgrade the wireless network for the main campus of BMU, plus some other departments not on our campus, and also to work in conjunction with the city of Bryan to do a fairly large wireless project, hopefully later this year, that will be discussed at a later date. We completed the incognito upgrade. That's the software that manages all of our cable modems for our cable modem customers. That's how we configure those services, manage those devices, and monitor them and do testing and et cetera. That's a core system we have. We upgraded that entire system. And then we did a lot of software and server applications. As most of you know, internal employees and board, you'll get emails from our IT people once in a while advising you that we're going to be doing server and security upgrades to your PCs and what needs to happen with that. So we try to stay on top of security, especially in this day and time with cybersecurity. It's very critical that we maintain that security for the utility and for the city. So, next slide. On the video side, even with coronavirus, we were able to conduct a lot of sports programming, and Eric and his team did a really good job of going out and social distancing, following all the protocols, but still able to produce a lot of programs. And with people being housebound and where parents couldn't go see their kids play the sports this year like they usually do, this was very invaluable to those folks, and they really appreciated it. A lot of good feedback. Of course, we did school programs and the concerts, the public meetings, as the one that we're participating in this evening, and the council meetings. They produce those every other week, and as many times a year as you folks have these meetings. And this year's been a special challenge because they're doing everything remote and online with YouTube and with GoToMeeting. So they've done a good job with that. Williams County Fair, they went up and spent some time up there doing a lot of video production up there from what we could do, and much other programming that they do. If any of our customers, as Karen had stated earlier, if any of our customers watch Channel 3 and Channel 4 on our system, you see a lot of local programming that we place on there for their benefit. We still do commercial advertising. We have several businesses that are partners with us, and we advertise their products and services on several of our cable channels, plus Channel 3 as well. And then, as I stated earlier, we live streamed over 400 hours of content. So all these meetings that we've done this past year was a lot of live streaming. So did a good job. Next slide. The future plans for 2021. We're going to attempt to construct the new fiber cable route through the downtown section of Bryan that we started last year, and this will increase the connectivity from all the BMU operations in the downtown city facilities and businesses for many years to come. And this will actually upgrade an existing route that's currently in place, and this will allow us to do a lot of other things. If we ever do a fiber to the premises or anything like that, this will give us the capacity to do that. And in the industrial and commercial park, we're continuing to construct fiber out there to collapse some that's out there and to make sure that the folks out at the Bryan Industrial Park can get fiber optic service from us as needed. And then the fiber infrastructure for BMU and City of Bryan departments is a project that we're going to be pursuing this year that would also interconnect several facilities, especially for the City of Bryan, with fiber back to BMU to give them connectivity for their facilities. We plan to, if we can, to do the Curtin substation. The fiber that currently serves that building is several years old, and we're going to do an upgrade there that will tie it into that new outer ring fiber that we constructed last year. The satellite C-band upgrade project, this is part of what we discussed earlier with the resolution. And what this is all of the existing programming that we keep, all the analog and all those earth stations out back, they have to be upgraded. And there's a big project that we're undertaking with that. I'm going to be working with some contractors and doing the engineering and the staging for this to get this completed. There will be 2 phases of this. We have to have a certain phase completed by the end of this year. The second phase will have to be completed before the end of 2023 because of the way they're phasing into 5G. And then planning and engineering for the new communications building. We continue to do that. I can't stress the importance of doing whatever we can to remove our core equipment from the current location to a new, more secure, upgraded location. So that will be it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you okay, Al. Thanks.
Go ahead, Al.
Hi, Al.
I think you're muted now, Al. We heard you for a little bit and now you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yes, I can. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we started out the year, we did a couple conversion projects on County Road 12. We had 700 feet of primary directional board for an overhead to underground conversion project. It was a tree-ridden area, so we decided that would be nice to get that underground, so we had that done. Then we moved over to the 800 block of East Maple Street, where we had some overhead construction, secondary back there. I think we put in around 410 feet of primary and 500 feet of secondary cable through directional boring means. Some of the couple conversion projects we did at the beginning of last year. We also had a tie, a 280 feet primary tie in East Village over there on, I think it's the 1700 block, where we had directional board, 280 feet of pipe, and we completed the primary termination there to make that tie. Nordstrom Laboratories has also put in a new three-phase service where we installed 500 feet of three-phase to a new pad mount transformer, and we eliminated 325 feet of old single-phase overhead line for that project. Slocker Investments, they built a new building in the Industrial Park South where we ran 570 feet of three-phase primary cable to a new pad mount transformer. The downtown, we had a conversion project in the downtown area depicted by the little alleyway there in the red, with the red walls. We had to do some kind of thinking on how we were going to do that project. So we ended up hand digging most of that conduit in through that little corridor there. So we installed around 200 feet of conduit, and we had a service violation that we had that ran over a building that we had to take care of, and then we had to feed an additional, I think there was 3 other customers there that we needed to feed back in that I call it a cubby hole, but that we had to feed and serve 3 new meter bases back in there. We worked with the property owners. They helped us with the service entrances on their side, and also with concrete restoration on some of that there. It was a good project to get done. The Ohio Gas Company, they had a URD service project that we fed their new building. There's about 80 feet of pipe there and we installed a new 3-phase pad mount transformer in that installation. Out in the rec park, the amphitheater, we had to supply 3-phase power to that. That was around 600 feet, and we did install a new 3-phase transformer. North Union Street, this was in coordination with the fiber optic outer ring project for Joe. But we did end up, it's about 1,130 feet of 3-phase overhead pole line, which we used the existing conductor, but we did put new poles and hardware and cross arms in on that to upgrade that through there. And that was a project that, as I said, with Joe's guys and getting that outer ring built. The Industrial Park substation, we built 2,200 feet of 3-phase pole line for feeder 3 on Industrial Drive and out on East Wilson Street by Daggett Sub. And we built 4,300 feet of pole line construction for circuit feeder 1, and we will start stringing that conductor as soon, and in 2021 here, as soon as we get a little break in the weather, hopefully. The 69 project for the Industrial Park substation feed, that was around about 5,820 feet of 3-phase transmission pole line that the department built. There was around 40 poles, 70 and 80 footer ductile iron poles, and also some wood poles, which I think we had about 15 to 20 wood poles also that we put in out there for that substation project. And guys did a great job. It's a really nice looking line. The ductile iron poles look really straight and really nice. Johnson Way lighting, this was in the industrial park north. I believe this was just at the beginning of the year. We installed 10 lights out there. They're direct berry black aluminum poles that we had. And then we did the industrial park lighting north, which is the street that was just south of that. It goes out to Page Street there in the industrial park north, that we did 4 additional lights, I think, towards this in the summertime there for that street improvement project. We also did a little project with the city upgrading through the rec park. We installed 5 lights on wooden poles for the Mayberry Drive improvement project that they did last year. Next slide, please. Last year, as I believe you know, we had to do something about our handheld meter reading devices, which you see in the picture there, the one there on the left, that's our old handheld Datamatic handheld unit that we used, and they're obsolete. You can't get parts for them. If they fail, we just would have been out. So we had to do something. So actually Datamatic, they have a sub company called Smartphone Meter Reading, which they are still kind of the Datamatic people that we deal with and everything. But the one on the right is the smartphone, and how we're entering readings now is on that cell phone. All the metering staff, they did a wonderful job making this transition. You know, Jay, John, Jeff, and Chris have been doing a great job getting the meter readings done. As you know, they read around 600 electric meters and 3,800 water meters every month, you know, in all kinds of weather. They really made this transition really, really good. So, and it's working out fine for us. So we're happy to have that new, and we don't have to worry about the hardware going out on us. So that's a good project that we did do in 2020. Outer ring fiber optic, make ready. As Joe stated, we assisted with the installation of that fiber optic cable. There was around 125 poles of make ready that was needing done, and we, like I said, we assisted in the framing and installation of fiber optic cable for that outer ring for that project. Deerfield subdivision, we worked with BMU Engineering to develop the best options on the Deerfield subdivision electric rebuild project. BMU, you know, Engineering has completed the plans and is prepared to go out for directional boring bids this year. So they've been done here, and we hope that we can move towards that at some point this year and get that up already done there for the Deerfield subdivision. Corridor mulching, the water department has been clearing nearly 3 miles of corridor brush for us and for the city. The water department has also installed a tile on the corridor midsection south of Scott Road. They did a work there, and we worked with the farmers and the Defined Soil and Water on sizing that tile, and the water department installed that for us. We appreciate all the work that the water department does for us, and you know, all it does is improve the reliability of the Marcus Corridor 138 line, and we appreciate their assistance. The East Wilson and Runkle Road project, this work that was due to an automobile accident, which took out one of our 12 kV riser poles there. The crew, you know, we installed a junction box and ran new 750 aluminum cable and relocated the riser pole off the intersection. That was a little project that was quite a bit of work there. More notable projects is the tree trimming that we've done. You know, we contracted Asplin last year, and they did some tree trimming on the distribution system and on the Marcus Corridor lines. We did have some pole replacements done from our 2019, I believe, pole testing in the southwest quarter, and we're continuing to do that this year. You know, we all of our department, we are involved in monthly training with AMP and quarterly training for our line workers. You know, every month we've been trying to do the online stuff that they do now, and we keep trying to keep up with that for the training for the staff. And the street department did some Marcus corridor mowing for us, which they mow all 11 miles of railroad, the old railroad bed there for us to keep the weeds down and control that. We didn't have the Jubilee this year, but we did do the Day in the Park temporary service installations that we typically do every year, and we continue with our squirrel proofing program, where we put coated wire and squirrel guards on our transformers and stuff. So we do keep going with that. 2021 project, excuse me. Of course, I mentioned the Deerfield Underground project. We'd like to go out for directional boring bids this year at some point. The Industrial Park Substation circuit extensions. We have feeder 2. Well, we got to start with feeder 1 and get that conductor strung in, and then feeder 2 poles installed. The Titan Tire 69 overhead line construction, which we need to build a 69 line from the new substation to Titan Tire. And we'd like to replace truck 1, our digger truck, at some point this year. Just like to take the opportunity to thank all the electric department employees and for all their hard work, and also like to thank all the other departments for all their help on everything they do for us. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Al.
Power plant and the Auglaize hydroelectric plant 2020 review. We'll start out with the capacity peak shaving. We had our meeting with AMP in January as to how we performed last year. With the kilowatts that we saved during the 5 CP events, the power plant is looking at $1.5 million worth of savings. The nice thing about it is that during that time, we also had quite enough water to run the majority of the Auglaize facility, which gave us another 103,000. And since all the peaks are during the summer, and they all happened in that hot July, if you remember, we had a lot of cloudless days. And so the solar field was running very well at that time and give us an extra 64,000. So they're estimating our capacity savings for this year would be $1,691,626. Next slide. The transmission saving did not happen in the winter last year. It happened on July 9th at 5 p.m. Once again, we were able to operate well during those times, and their estimated savings for the power plants 2.5 and 182,000, and then another 143,000, which would total out to 2,869,092. There we go. Next slide. I threw in the next couple of other slides to show you what their estimate is and what we actually did in 2020. In 2020, we actually did 1.2 million, and the estimate had only been 1.1 million, 57,000. So the plant was able to run effectively and actually beat their estimate. Now remember, their estimates are at like 65% of what they really expect us to run. And we were able, with a great crew, to keep the generators running very well. We had water and we had sun. So that provided us with more savings than we had been anticipated with. The next slide. And identically with the transmission, of last year. They're estimating this year of 2.8 million. In 2020, we actually saved 3.7, even though they had only said we were at 3.4. So this is really helping the Bryan citizens to keep the rates at a very affordable range for them. And the generators are, and the outlays and the solar fields are really an advantageous asset for the Bryan community. So just to recap, for 2021, our estimates are at transmission savings of 2,869,073 with capacity savings, which is the 5 CPs, is 1,691,626. And so we're forecasting a savings for this coming year of 4,566,699. Seems like something worthwhile there. Auglaize Hydro Plant, we had some sales for RECs. We had 9,500 megawatt hours for the year of 192,574. And in 2020, we actually sold some RECs, the renewable energy credits, for 129,677.35. The solar, we did do 2.5 million worth of megawatt hours this year, but however, we did not sell any RECs. We were waiting for a little better pricing, and those are the RECs that were sold in 2019. Here's just a big glance at the Auglaize generation over the last 6 years. Not one of our stellar years, but also not one of our lowest years. And a lot of it happened after July when everything kind of dried up. And we had a little bit of rain there in November and December, but pretty much it was about half of what we would normally get in multiple years previous to that. But we still did very well and was able to provide Bryan with some savings. Completed projects, the power plant, industrial substation. You can see the pictures here, just some stages of when things were being installed. We had a great installation crew with FET, great engineering. I'd like to thank Al and his crew for helping us through anything that we had to do from BMU standpoint. Great pole line, they helped with the feeders, and also with Joe, who gave us communications so that we can talk to everything out there once we get the RTAC, which is the new SCADA system way of communicating, up and running with all the software in it. Next slide. The next one is the GT2, which is you're very familiar with. The left 3 pictures are a couple cabinets of what it looked like before. The very far left one is after the cabinets were out. And then on the right 3 is what they looked like afterwards. Quite a savings in not having to have all that relay being physically mechanical, and it's all electronically inside the PLC. Great engineering firm to work with TTS. They were easily helpful. Anything that we wanted to change on the screens, they just moved it around so that it worked best for us. There's some more pictures in the next slide. And this is kind of where the gas valves were changed. You can see in the left picture, there was all pneumatics, and then we went to 1 electrically operated. And then in the 2 right ones is where the pneumatics went down to just a few gauges. Our issues with pneumatics diminished dramatically with that. We've had about 5 multiple startups since they've left. A couple weeks ago, we actually ran for peak, even though the peak never happened. We're going to run tomorrow. One of the power plant guys said that after he started a week ago, GT2, that's just too easy to start compared to the old way. And so to me, that was a real compliment that we had done the right things, because the system was watching itself more than we had to go look at it all the time. Next slide. Some other things, the GT2 turning gearbox, that's the blue one in the bottom right, and then Al's group lets use their little crane trolley that they set transformers with, which just worked out awesomely. But that gearbox is like 2 gearboxes. And so we had to kind of manipulate it out of there and get it out, get it sent in as a seal was going out inside of it. And we were losing oil from the top gearbox. If we were coming down and it was warm and we lost that gearbox, that would be potentially detrimental to warping the shaft. So we don't want that to happen. As it's cooling down, that slowly turns and keeps the shaft straight for 24 hours or until it gets below a specified temperature. The air clutch, which is just the top one in the middle with the brass there, we lost the shaft that feeds the air in through a gearbox, through that sprocket, and into the air clutch. It's a 3-foot long shaft that can only have like a 1/2 mil of play in it. So we had a tooling firm do the actual weld on it, and the crew did all the installation. So we didn't have to worry about any external people coming in. Great crew, great repair, and it's worked really well. And the same one with the GE gearbox shaft below. The shaft had spun out inside of its coupling. We got an estimate as what it would take to get that repaired, and that was $30,000 for a company to come in and repair it. Well, right away, we decided that we were going to take it apart and see what was inside of it. So for basically $1,000, we were able to repair the GE and get it back operational again with the crew of BMU. I couldn't be more proud to be part of this crew than to watch them do these kind of things. Next one. Auglaize, the hydro plant, we had some concrete, and if you can see in the middle picture there at the top, the light portions of concrete. We had to build scaffolding down there, and we also had to worry about making sure we had no water coming over, getting on people, or when we decided to pour the concrete, which ended up not being an issue since it was a pretty dry fall. But they had to stand on scaffolding, use jackhammers, get it all back there. We had rebar exposed, so it was very critical that we get that closed up before the winter in order to prevent any more damage to the concrete portions of the dam. With number 3 stator, you can see in the bottom picture that we actually, in between the coils, a connection burnt open. The power plant operator was walking by and seeing a spark, and so we shut it down until we found it. They were able to repair it for literally the cost of a quarter 20 bolt. Another awesome repair. And then in the very right picture there, we added some LED lighting and 2 additional cameras that we had as spares in order to look right at the floodgates and right at the top portion of the dam, just to give us better coverage as to what may be happening when we're not here, and we can look at it. Next one. Projects for 2021, Bryan Industrial Substation. We have a couple of change orders that will be completed by the end of March. That does not mean that the substation is not operational. It is operational. We're just doing the change orders now because it's the most cost-effective time to do them, and it will make sure that we can use maximum capacity in that substation in the future. Al mentioned about Titan Tire, the 34.5 kilovolt upgrade. That Titan Tire is one part of that. We are also starting to work on engineering and ways to value engineer the power plant substation so that we can get the generators on the 69K line without incurring additional engineering or outside contractor cost, and seeing what we can use of internal labor, internal resources in order to do that work and provide Bryan with getting that onto that reliable 69K line. And then the final thing in the power plant area is for GT number 1 is to get its controls all upgraded and operational here in March and April. The hydro plant, one of the things about the concrete is as long as we have concrete, it will crack and moisture will get in there and will freeze. We're working with advanced technology rehabilitation in order to fill those cracks with a poly material and then put a coating over it like they would do inside of a sanitary sewer line or something like that, that would seal it up and help maintain the surface in order to prevent moisture entrapment. We were going to do that at the end of January, and then we got water, and then we were going to do it the 1st of February, and then we got to notices that we may have to run. So I told them that we would have to wait till the end of February, as I was going to run the water up in order to make sure that I could run generators when we needed to during the peak time. So that kind of got moved around a little bit, but we are still planning to do that part of the first 2 sections of the dam closest to the floodgates, and hopefully get a good trial out to see if that is a good long-term fix for preventing concrete damage. Also, we are getting the roof repaired over the maintenance area. It is a rubber roof with foam spray on it, which is very deteriorated, has many holes in it, has a broken piece of concrete support underneath that has to be fixed. It's being held up by some metal beams and some pieces of wood. Makes me very nervous. So we're going to get that repaired as soon as the weather breaks. Once again, they were supposed to start in January. The weather started getting cold, and now we got all this weather. Next slide. I want to thank once again Al and Joe for all their help in these projects and providing support. Couldn't do it without a great team like that. Any questions? Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Go ahead,
You're
Derek.
muted.
Eric, check your mic.
You can run down to my office and I'll step out and you can use my computer, Derek. Take him a second to get down here.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you well.
Sorry about that. This will be the 2020 review for the water department. Next slide, please. The first project we completed was the aerator rehabilitation. Aeration puts iron in solution and it makes it easier to remove during the filtering process. The picture on the right there is what we call the media, or we refer to them as wiffle balls. Over time, those build up with dirt and rust, and you need to replace those to maintain its effectiveness. We typically do this about every 5 years, and our staff completed this project. We also had the reaction basin inspected this year. That would be the 1 million gallon clear well, as most people refer to it as. We contracted this with Solomon Diving. What they do is go in with certified divers. They do a visual inspection of the floors, the walls, the ceiling, and the pipes that are in there as well. They also cleaned the basin, which was basically vacuuming the bottom to remove excess iron that has settled out. During the inspection, we also found a couple pipe hangers that were in pretty bad condition. One had actually broken and fallen to the floor, and there was another one that wasn't going to last too much longer, so we had those replaced while they were here as well. The red sand filter, this is the big lid outside of the plant there. This is where our backwash water goes. Backwash water is when you clean the filters in the plant, so that water all gets transferred out into that big sand filter, where its sole purpose is to collect even more iron. Over time that builds up and it forms a sludge. Atkins Sanitation out of Fremont, Ohio came in and removed that sludge for us. It was then hauled to the wastewater plant where it's drying. The water department staff then, after it was all cleaned out, we added about 80 tons of sand into that filter, which brought it back to its original design. With the water treatment plant, we made upgrades to well number 6, SCADA. We updated the PLC and also installed a new control panel for that. This will be the well that is a submersible and it's located on Trevitt Street. Metrica Jacobs did that work for us. Also at the water plant itself, we replaced the SCADA computer. This computer is critical because it controls the software of the whole SCADA system. It was getting to be outdated and needed to be replaced. In the laboratory, we analyzed 425 bacteria samples. As part of the EPA's annual monitoring schedule, we had to sample for lead and copper, disinfection byproducts, and nitrates. We met all those testing requirements. Next slide, please. For the year, we pumped just over 456 million gallons of water. August was our highest month, around 43 million. And April was our lowest, about 32 million. In the distribution system, we did a couple of main replacement projects. Both of these projects were contracted out. Both of them improved water service reliability and increased firefighting capabilities. We replaced 3,620 feet of 8-inch main. And that was what was known as the South William Street project, but it also included a block on East Pierce Street and 2 blocks on East Butler Street. In the North Industrial Park, we installed 1,233 feet of new 12-inch water main. And what that did was complete the transition loop from Beamet Street to Page Street. The distribution crew also repaired 12 fire hydrants and 7 new ones were installed as part of projects. Those repaired hydrants, the crew's really taken the initiative to learn how to tear those apart and fix them and put them back together as opposed to replacing them. The cost of replacing the hydrants is pretty high, but they do a great job in repairing those for us. The distribution crew also upgraded 18 water meter pits. We installed 9 new services. They repaired 24 services, and we repaired 4 mainline water valves. Some miscellaneous projects that we did. We helped at the city's amphitheater, installing a new 1-inch tap for that. And we also installed a meter pit for them to use as a seasonal operation. So during the winter months, they could drain those lines and hook that back up in the warmer weather and flush them out. As Al mentioned earlier, we spent some time on the corridor. We mulched about 3 miles of the corridor, and we helped replace some of the drainage tiles. For 2021, we've got a couple big plans at the top there. The first one is a emergency response plan and a risk assessment plan. These are plans that are required by the US EPA. We have some due dates on those. One is coming up in June, and then the other one will be in December. Right now, we're kind of working through that to try and figure out the best way to do it. We also need to update our wellhead protection plan. There's three main parts to that plan, and we're due to update the last one. Kind of the same thing with the other US EPA plans. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that right now. A couple of potential main replacement projects: North Myers Street, West Maple, North Lebanon, and Alpine Drive. We're working on prioritizing those projects right now, updating some of the costs, also factoring in when the dump truck may arrive as to what project to start first and which ones we may be able to get done this year. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I can answer those.
Thanks, Derek.
I'd just like to say, in conclusion, although 2020 was one of our most challenging years, I believe we made it through even stronger. We heard from all of our department heads and all that we were able to accomplish in 2020. You know, for 2020, it was amazing. Everything that you just heard, you know, a substation, the water lines, everything that everybody accomplished. We refused to get caught up in the fray of the pandemic. Our employees focused on what we needed to do, answer the call to our customers during this trying time. Our goal was to keep everyone safe and working, and I believe that we accomplished that during 2020. Our employees are our greatest assets. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are now. I see a renewed willingness to work together between us all. We have one of the biggest and best relationships I think I've seen in years with the city. As I said before, when we work together, great things happen for our community. I would like to take a moment to thank the entire management team, all of our employees, the BPA, the council, and all of the city departments for all their support in 2020 and what we were able to accomplish. I look forward to seeing all the positive things we can do together for our community in the years to come. If you guys have any questions on the presentations, we'd be more than happy to answer them. For 80 slides, I think we got through pretty darn quick.
Nate, this is Dick. A wonderful presentation, really good. I just had one question, and I'll probably be putting you on the spot. Our power supply costs have been coming down starting in 2018. Do we have a projected for 2021? I tried to get that from Dawn before she left, and I think we both got busy and I missed it.
Yeah, I do have those numbers, and I think they might have been in one of the slides, but they're projected to be stable, and they're not really rising at all. So our power supply cost is stable to about what we did in 2020. So I think we're looking pretty good there. It's going to be flat and stable as far as the projections I saw. That's a good question. I'd also like to add one more thing that there's some things at the end of your packet. I know we went through 80 slides, but there was still a bunch more that we wanted you to see. So our HR and Eric and his team put a bunch of stuff in there also that we didn't get to, but I would thank Jackie and Eric and his team and take a look at those things. You know, when you get time, there's plenty of there to read and keep up on too. Any other questions?
Anybody have any other questions of Nate or any of the department heads at this time? Good job to all. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is to pay the bills. Do I have a motion?
This is Dick. I'd make a motion, we pay the bills.
This is Karen.
Dick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Annette.
Yes,
And the last item on the agenda is comments from BPA and staff. Mayor Slade, anything you'd like to add tonight?
Great job by all the departments. It's been an absolute pleasure working with Nate and the team this year, and we in the city are looking for good things to come for 2021.
Thank you. Rhonda?
No, sir, thank you.
Lori?
No, sir, thank you.
Jackie?
Not this evening, thank you.
Anything else from the department heads? Nathan, anything else to add?
Nothing more, Tom, thanks.
Okay. Annette?
I would like to say congratulations to Nate. He's been a pleasure to work with, and I look forward to working with him for many years to come. The Good Neighbors Fund, on the slide, I noticed that since the inception of the Good Neighbors Fund, 2020 was the best year for donations. So that's huge. That tells what kind of community we really have. Everybody was willing to help everybody out. So that's a great thing. The presentation itself, I thought was very, very informative, and everyone explained everything very well. So job well done by everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Jim?
I just want to thank everybody. That was a great presentation on the year-end review. Thank all the department heads for the hard work, and also the employees. I'd also like to congratulate Nate. I think it was a wise choice. And everything you hear, the working relations are going well, and the working relations with the city side as well. That's always good to hear. I think Karen touched on earlier when we were discussing the changes in the communication department and the cable. And I think that was a good thing, asking our customers to be a little patient with us and understanding we're going through some trials and tribulations right now that we need to deal with. We're working hard to maintain a good product for our customers, and we'll work through this and we'll get by. That's all I have, Tom.
Thank you. Karen?
Yes, I want to thank all of the superintendents. Their program was very enlightening. You did accomplish a lot. You do have good crews. And your accomplishments show for the year. It's been very good to see everything you did, and you should all be proud of yourselves. And Nate, the rest of the program, the pictures are awesome. The information, what the utility does, is fantastic. Good to see some of those pictures. I was part of that courthouse square group with the drone and how they opened that up to HGTV. That was fun. The only other thing I have to add is about the peak shaving. Got the notice for that, and just to let the customers know that peak shaving does save millions of dollars. Keeping the peak smoothed out, it helps the purchase price and the customer's rates. So we're all in this together. If you can drop the temperature a degree or two, turn off some lights, every little bit helps. So thank you all. You're all wonderful. Congratulations, Nate, to you too. Everyone with the utility is fantastic. Good luck 2021.
Thank you, Karen. Dick?
Yeah, I'd pretty well like to ditto what everyone said. Wonderful presentation. It was great. Thanks to all the department heads, everybody that put that together. Things are looking well. Back in 2020, we weren't sure what was going to happen in 2021 with the COVID. It's changed some things for us, like our succession plan. We're about 5 employees short of replacing to replace people that have left or are going to be leaving. But again, we're watching our money, being very conservative. I think that was a wise choice. And I know Nate and Dawn worked hard on crunching numbers and putting their heads together. Budgets, had to really tighten up our budgets for 2021. But I think everybody did a fabulous job. I'm proud of everybody. The boards had to make some hard decisions, but I think we've made the right decisions. And I just look forward to things getting better, not only with the COVID, but everybody in the city. And I'm looking forward. I'm very optimistic about 2021. I think we're going to get to a better place. I think we just have to be patient. And then I'll shut up. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Dick. Again, thanks to all the department heads for the presentations. It's good to see everything that you do and for the public to see everything that we do take care of this. Congratulations to Nate. Continued success. With that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment if there's nothing else to bring before the board.
This is Dick, so moved.
This is Annette, I'll second it.
Dick,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
And just a reminder that there's papers to sign